months ago. My goodness, he was found not guilty. Well, joining me now to give us a little bit of a history lesson, Fox 29 legal analyst Ken Rothweiler, attorney Heather Hansen is here, Bill Anderson from Chasey, New Jersey. The reason why I wanted to have y'all come in, I'm fortunate enough to work with a lot of young, energetic people here, and they want to, you know, I just wasn't old enough to comprehend what was going on 20 years ago. How do you explain it? Ken, let's start with you.
Well, I would say two things, Mike. If someone said to me, what was the OJ trial about? I'd say two things. It was about race, and it was about celebrity. Race because of the makeup of the jury, and we can talk a little bit about that, but also celebrity. I would say that in this country, you know, celebrities are put on a pedestal. You know, OJ Simpson was a Heisman Trophy winner. He was a pro football player for the Buffalo Bills. He was an actor. He was well-liked. He was popular. And in this country, it's very difficult to convict a popular celebrity. We have lots of examples, you know, Robert Blake, Michael Jackson. So I would talk about the fact about this trial being about celebrity and about being about race.
And Heather, it really is. Ken brings up a good point. Celebrity trials started with the OJ Simpson trial because we had cameras in the courtroom, a lot of them.
Absolutely, and since then you've seen tons of these types of trials with Casey Anthony, George Zimmerman, all of those cases. The other thing that's changed a lot that people who are young can't imagine is we didn't have Twitter, we didn't have Facebook. So everyone was sort of coming together and talking about this over coffee, over the water coolers, and really coming together across the world, not just in America, to watch this trial over the 8 or so months that it was on TV.
And look at all those familiar faces. We watched this trial for 134 straight days, Bill Anderson, and a guy by the name of Mark Furman, a police officer, showed up at the scene that night in Brentwood. There he is. The moment the jury heard and the country heard that there was a possibility, there was an indication that maybe in his past he had planted evidence, the case was over.
Well, and I think that speaks to what Ken said about race. I think it was about race for other reasons. You had OJ Simpson, a popular African-American who a lot of people thought transcended race, who was involved in an interracial relationship at a time that it really was not nearly that well exposed or that popular.
Right. And
you had a community that was pushing back against a system. So Mark Furman became indicative of what many African Americans thought of the system, much more so than we were actually focusing on that case.
A lot of African Americans were rooting for a win in any legal case, Bill.
Yeah, well, and it was rooting for a win. Again, it was about opposition to racist cops. It was about opposition to a legal system that many of us didn't feel was necessarily fairly representing us, and we rallied around that and cheered for that. I think it had a lot more to do with that and the legal system and cops than O.J. Simpson.
Well, they actually could believe that evidence could be planted at the scene, even though the evidence was so overwhelming. Ken, back to you. I don't know if the term slam dunk started with this case, but because of all the bloody socks and the gloves and everything else, he had cuts on his hands, and he took off for Chicago. O.J. assumed what I'm talking about. Why wasn't it a slam dunk?
Well, that word slam dunk came from Gil Garcetti, yes, who was the DA at the time. He was caught on tape, and they interviewed him. He said it was a slam dunk. He said it was a slam dunk because of all the DNA evidence, all the blood evidence, that is. And he figured because of the blood evidence, it was absolutely going to be a conviction. Here was the problem, Mike, and you just said it before. Because of Furman, and they called him a racist, they were basically depicting him as a racist, the jury makeup was crucial in this case. Here was the jury makeup in the criminal trial. 9 African Americans, 2 whites, and 1 Hispanic. What happened? He was acquitted. Now let's fast forward. Now he has a civil trial. Here's the jury makeup. 8 whites, 2 African Americans, and 1 Hispanic. And what happens? He's convicted in a civil trial. You're not convicted, but a verdict was held against him for $33.5 million. It was held that he actually did the killings of Goldman and Brown. So it shows you that the jury makeup makes a big, big difference in trials like this. On the one hand, when it was African Americans, they saw it a certain way. When it was white jury, they saw it a certain way. And you had 2 different results.
If the gloves don't fit, you must acquit. Heather.
That's right.
There's another big difference, beyond a reasonable doubt. In the case with the criminal case against OJ, there were 150 witnesses. They all contradicted each other. All that jury needed was a reasonable doubt. And to go back to Bill's point, they wanted to find a reasonable doubt. In the civil case, it's a different standard, and I think that's part of the reason as well.
Yes, and it also speaks to how differently, and I think still, we see things in this country. Shortly before the O.J. Simpson case was the Rodney King case. Right. Since then, we've had Trayvon Martin, we've had Amadou Diallo. There are a lot of people who can look at the exact same evidence, and because of our personal experiences, see it differently. Yeah. I think O.J. Simpson was the first time we all saw that play out on TV.
Let's go back to the evidence. Robert Kardashian, again, this has all come up in the last couple of days. Did he have a garment bag with OJ's bloody clothes in it, Ken?
Well, he did have a garment bag. He was caught on tape the day after the murder. He was caught on tape carrying that garment bag out of OJ Simpson's residence. Nobody knows what's in it. But here's what you need to know. Robert Kardashian was best friends with OJ Simpson. His wife, Kris Kardashian, was best friends with Nicole Brown. So there was a big, big relationship, family relationship that went back for years. I believe Robert Kardashian would have done whatever he needed to do to protect his friend OJ Simpson. I'm real curious what was in that overnight bag. We'll never find out.
It's interesting. Kris Jenner, just a couple of days ago, says that the Kardashian family was supposed to receive another bag full of stuff about 2 weeks ago, and somebody changed their mind. It wasn't the bloody clothes and stuff like that. It was just things from 20 years ago. But the meeting never happened. They decided it was a bad idea. I don't know where that plays out. We'll look into that over the next couple of days. Hey, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
In the next hour, on this 20th anniversary, we're going to take a look back at some of those players.